Hey guys, welcome back to Soul Care Conversations with Mindy, me. And I have, as always, an amazing guest that I get to introduce you to today, who I've known for many years, David Zimmerman.
Good to meet y'all. Good to be with you, Mindy.
Delighted.
Yeah.
Publisher at NavPress.
Yeah. And we are the publisher of Mindy's most recent book, which has been a great deal of fun.
It has been a ton of fun. And our paths crossed probably many, many years ago.
Yeah.
You've been at different publishing houses, have a background in ministry.
Yeah, I had this great moment right after I was working at a publishing house in Illinois and then moved out to Colorado. And I was still figuring out where the kitchen was, where the coffee was. The coffee is the magnet, right? But so I was still sort of wandering the halls, getting my bearings, and I came around a corner, and Mindy was in the building, and you had moved out here around the same time.
I think we moved to the same summer. Your family moved out. Ours did too.
Yeah.
But we didn't know it because we were 90 minutes apart.
I know, yeah. And so she was you were doing some consulting for our organization, and I was like, I have a friend in Colorado. How awesome is that? So yeah, and we've managed to run into each other over time, and eventually you had a book idea, and we were like, yes, please. And
it was great.
Yeah,
it was great. The process of working with you guys and your whole team was amazing. So
yeah.
As I've never done on this podcast, much to your chagrin.
You got to hustle that book, Mindy.
I'm never good at this, but Ignite Your Soul is the book. NavPress right here is the publisher. And why don't you explain to people, what is the publisher of a book? What is that is your role.
Yeah.
We think of it as the people that have the printing presses, but what is the publisher?
Right. Yeah. So NavPress is the book publishing ministry of the Navigators, which is a disciple making mission, and the Navigators have always used tools, built and developed tools that support the relational discipleship that's kind of the bread and butter and the missional model for the Navigators, and so for the first 40 years of the Navigators, people were meeting with people, helping them build a foundation of discipleship, following Jesus, and knowing Jesus, and we're making those resources available to people as they asked. And then about 40 years in, there were just too many people asking, and they thought we need a different approach to this. So 51 years ago this year, we just had our Jubilee year. NavPress was formally organized to be principally a delivery system for these resources that were emerging out of the ministry model of the Navigators, but the work of NavPress took on its own kind of vision and sense of calling, and so we've been our work is in many ways, publishing looks like an abstraction, right? You get data files going back and forth across the country, and you're checking spelling. You're basically an AI bot with legs. But that's kind of the mystique around publishing, is that there are people who are kind of just making the mechanics of a book happen. But it really is.
There's way more to it.
Yeah,
than
and
that.
It's so relational. It's such a high trust endeavor, right? Like you have to have confidence, not just that the publisher you're working with can get your book out into the world and into people's hands, but that they get what you're doing, right?
Well, and so, that especially came to bear it with working with you and Caitlin and the whole team, because I felt from the very beginning you were co-laborers with a message that was important for the timeliness in the body of Christ, kind of coming out of pandemic and so much burnout, and the idea that we would be addressing this. And I've told you this so many times, but Caitlin, when she jumped in,
Caitlin's your editor.
Yes, as the editor, she took on the defense of the reader and really made sure that of course, that the ideas that I was trying to convey were
Yeah.
what was conveyed, but she pressed it through a lens
Yeah.
that was a great improvement to the whole
Yeah.
thing. And so I felt so partnered with you guys really from the beginning.
Yeah.
But NavPress, if I can say, when we were church planting in Boston, so in the 90s,
Yep.
I think that was when the Message first came out.
Right.
Is that
the
right?
the New Testament released in 93.
And so we started our church in 1993,
yeah.
and we had an opportunity with all our donors who were giving, to support our ministry. We took those New Testaments and sent one out to everybody because
Mindy, you got us off the ground.
we got you off the ground. I'm like, the message was helping us, and then the people that we cared about who were supporting the work we were doing to connect in fresh ways with Scripture. And I love how on LinkedIn you're always posting like, where's that at? It's at the Message. Tell people about that a little bit. It's fun.
So
they can find you on LinkedIn.
It's very nerdy. I'm just steel yourselves for the nerdiness. But so it's interesting to sort of look back on my history and see the points of intersection with the Message, because I came to Christ in 1989, so 4 years before the Message existed, right? So basically, my whole adult faith life has had the Message in it. But my points of intersection have been kind of random in early years. I just run across a passage or something like that, and I can sort of identify throughout the history where those points of intersection are, and kind of interrogate it a little. And I wonder why, like, the Message met that moment for me, at that time. And then fast forward a couple of decades, and I come to NavPress, and it fell to me to be the editor for the Message for that first run, and I had never. How do you edit a Bible, right? That seems a little dicey proposition, but
how did you edit the Bible?
Well, we'll talk about that later. It's. To enter into I talk about publishing. When you publish a Bible, you're a publisher of Scripture engagement, right? And so the Scriptures, in some ways, they're a technology for your encounter with God.
With God, yeah.
And so I started really reading the Message deliberately, and just recognize and reading about kind of the background of how it came to be. This pastor who translated from the original languages, but in service to this congregation that was harassed and helpless, right? Like that they were struggling with the day-to-day reality, but also struggling with questions of God and trying to sort of connect those two to each other. And I just fell in love with the resonance of this text, right? I can imagine how it landed with this church that you're planting, with your supporters at the time, and so it just is unlike other Bibles. And I've thought that a publisher of a Bible takes on the character of the Bible that it publishes, and I think this is true of the various Bible translations, how they sit within the publishing house that publishes them. And I thought you could do a lot worse than be built on a foundation of trying to bring the world of the Bible and the world of today together. That's Eugene's language and kind of his translation model. And so as an agenda for a publishing program that by what we publish are regularly reinforcing the idea that God is near and God is for us and God wants to be known, and God wants to know us, and that's an inflow that creates a corresponding outflow, right? That we become transformed by this God who is inviting us into relationship. That's pretty appealing, like it's a pretty good gig
Sounds
if
like
you can
a good
get
day
it.
job.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good day job.
Yeah, that was it really felt like I don't know, it validated the change, which was a big life change as
for
by,
you to
by
move.
your own experience
Yeah.
to move across country.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
do something,
and then
really
to have
new.
that be your kind of initial assignment coming out of it.
Yeah.
Well, I received this when
Look at that tiny little Bible.
I know, you should see the size of the print. It's like microscopic.
Yeah.
But when we had committed to moving forward with as yet unnamed what became Ignite Your Soul, which I do love the title. You remember all the conversations we had about the title, about the cover image? Oh, I'm just so thrilled with it. Anyway, you guys sent this out to your authors that year, and you can tell it's been through a couple lattes. That it's just how things are.
Yep.
But what I was talking about, like this travels really well with me. I love having it with me at speaking engagements and stuff like that. And I use a range of translations, I think, as many people do. But this paraphrase is quite endearing for the reason you mentioned. And you're probably being quite careful with your words, knowing you, that this was Eugene Peterson's animating idea, was to bring the world of the Bible to the world of today.
Yeah.
And what a truth there is in that. And so what I love on your LinkedIn posts is that daily
That's
or
what we
weekly?
were going to talk about.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Is it daily or weekly that you do
once
that?
a week. Monday in the message is the idea. And I just, a verse that has landed for me sometime over the past week.
Yeah.
I just slap it on a photo and post it, and then I repost it. And this is a little window into my particular weirdness. I posted to the NavPress LinkedIn page, and then I reposted on my
Personal,
LinkedIn page, and the caption on the NavPress page is Monday in the message. And the caption on my repost is, "Where's it at in the message?" And what I think no one in the universe knows is that's a call out to a song called "Moni in the Middle." That is such a bop. It's such a good song.
You are so funny.
Yeah. Anyway,
I love that.
"Moni in the Middle." Where's it at? In the middle. It's just a great song.
You are hilarious.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do that because it amuses me to do so.
Well, and that's what I love. I love your newsletters that reference random musical things and all the beautiful things.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you have a favorite of all of your "Where's It At"? And then I do want to get to the bold, whatever. What do you call that? Yeah, the tagline, but it's more than a tagline. It's a very intentional, kind of like a purpose statement.
Yeah.
But and then I'll read you a favorite one that we just did a retreat on last week, which was kind of fun.
That sounds good.
But do you have a favorite?
Well, the one that's coming to mind is I caught a picture of my cat on the landing in our.
I was hoping we were going to talk about your cats.
I know, yeah. So this is Jude, and he's just sitting. Cats sit very regally, They're like, "Well, I own this universe.
Yes.
You're welcome to
surf.
Like,
You're my surf."
Yeah, exactly. Like, avert your eyes. But he's just sitting regally on the landing, and he's backlit because the sun is coming through the window over the entryway, and so I'm seeing kind of the silhouette of Jude through the landing, and I was like, "That's pretty cool look." So I took a picture, and I don't remember the reference. It's in the epistles. the text is, I'm going to butcher the text, but the text, it does give you kind of like a window into Eugene's translation style and why it might resonate with people who struggle with more conventional Bible translations. And the text is, why don't we just go ahead and be ourselves? And that is kind of a through line in the Gospels and in the epistles that I think can be really easy to miss. But this idea that I think it's Thomas Merton who says, to be a saint is to be yourself, and there's a lot of sort of theological work happening underwater from that line. But this idea that when God calls us, when God meets us, He meets us as ourselves, and the work of God in our lives is not to erase ourselves, right? We become fully ourselves to the extent that we attach ourselves fully to God, and I just like that idea and it feels very counterintuitive to a lot of Christian messaging that what you have to become has to be starkly different from where you come from, and that just doesn't ring true to me about reality. It doesn't ring true to me about the gospel, and so this idea that you see these acknowledgments in the scriptures that there's a selfliness that God is sanctifying in God's work in our lives. So,
yeah, I love that. It does seem like a through line in his perspective, and I would say it's a through line in God's revelation. That He's putting fresh language around. Yeah, for sure. Can I just share this fun little thing that a little bit of backstory? It kind of relates to the book. Some AI bot figured out my email and figured out to go went to another like spiritual formation type ministry and sent me an email saying that was I aware that they had like 100,000 more followers than I did.
Wow.
And basically the company that did it was like, don't you want to hire us to like fix that problem? Wow. And I was like, first of all, I think that's great that they have so many followers. I don't see that as a problem. And what are you doing inciting comparison and competition between myself and anyone else? Like that, I was so angry, certainly not doing business with them. But I just for a while, then of course I was like, do they have, it's like you go and you're like, wait, is that
right?
We live in such a world that is relentlessly competitive, comparative. It subtly sneaks into all our language, all of our conversations even. Oh, who's my best friend? Who's my, it's like all these things are all comparative, relative. And there's data and there's important things and numbers matter. I'm not saying they don't matter, but you can just get crushed by that stuff. As it turned out, I happened to be reading 1 Corinthians.
Okay.
And some of the first chapters are all about, I follow Paul, I follow Apollos. They're all getting into arguments, or Paul's addressing
mixing
this.
it up.
And this is the first line that's caught me in my tracks. I thought it was hilarious. Chapter 4 starts with, don't imagine us leaders to be something we aren't. It's like, oh, that is a good place to start on any given day. Don't imagine us leaders. We are servants of Christ. Wow. Like, let's just level this playing field. We're servants of Christ. We are guides into God's most sublime secrets, not security guards posted to protect them.
Oh, my gosh.
The requirements for a good guide are reliability and accurate knowledge. It matters very little to me what you think of me, even less what I rank in popular opinion. Man, did I need to read that.
Yeah.
On those days following somebody telling me I needed to care more about popular opinion. Yeah. And, comparison in these matters are pointless. I'm not aware of anything that would disqualify me from being a good guide for you, but that doesn't mean much. The master makes this judgment. And then as we were doing our Soul Care Rhythms semi-silent retreat this past week, this was the text that we did our Lectio Divina part of the time in. And so don't get ahead of the master, because a couple of people read ahead, which this was the contained, which they always do, right?
Sure, of course.
Which I love. And jump to conclusions with your judgments before all the evidence is in. When he comes, he will bring out in the open the evidence. I can't read this type, it's so small.
Yeah.
Anyway, all kinds of things we never even dreamed of. Inner motives and purpose and prayers. Only then will any one of us get to hear the well done of God. All I'm doing right now, friends, is showing you how these things pertain to Apollos and me, so you will learn restraint and not rush into making judgments without knowing all the facts.
Wow. And
then there was this great line. I'm trying to get to it. I don't know where it is, but it was basically, don't you know, you can't possibly absorb everything of God. Everything that God has made available to you, you can't find it. It was so good. But he's really pushing on this, like, what's the point of all this comparing and competing? You already have all you need.
Yeah.
You already have, this is it. You already have more access to God than you can handle.
Yeah.
Does that sound
that's next Monday. Yeah.
Good. I will look forward to it.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
But just thank you for your work, because publishing is hard. It's hard work. Thank you for your leadership over your team. You've been a joy to work with. They've been a joy to work with, and we have a new announcement related to Ignite Your Soul.
Yeah.
Would you like to make the announcement?
Yeah, sure.
It's this month, right?
Yeah. I just released last week,
I
think, right?
Yep,
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So Ignite Your Soul is now available in Spanish.
Yay!
This is an uncommon occurrence.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just very hard to, a book has to meet its audience. And so part of the challenge for publishing is anticipating and then facilitating
a future
that connect point, right?
Yeah.
Like so what books are going to resonate with which audiences, and then take that a step further when you're moving from one language group to another. You're moving from one cultural context to another, and so what are the assumptions in the original language edition that survive or translate effectively into the assumptions of the second language group, and not every book can make that transition. But yours is making that transition, and it's very fun.
Stay tuned toward the end of this time, guys, because I'm going to have to figure out how to give some of these away. All 4 of these copies, 2 in English, 2 in Spanish, are going to be given away.
Yeah.
But it just makes it. I'm really delighted, and I don't think this would have been on the radar of yourselves or Tyndale in that partnership, but a good number on our team, our soul care team, are fluent in Spanish.
Spanish speakers.
And Josh, my son, lives in Mexico, and I'm going to be there in another week and a half. And so we might try to do something with his community there around this, and we're releasing a couple other of our soul care resources in Spanish to sort of more broadly support the book. And so anyway,
that's great.
Thanks. It's kind of fun.
Excited for that.
Well, I am too. Yeah. We'll figure out how to let you know how to put your name in the chat or something if you want the copy of the book, and have to tell us if you want the Spanish or English. One more question related to the message and publishing, and your role in publishing. You know, as a leader, your job is serving your team, meeting the demands of the board, and rather than just an independent publishing company, you sit within the Navigators more broadly, and that's just additional complexities and beautiful opportunities. I know for me, when I was deciding where to bring the book, it was very significant to me that anything that comes out of NavPress is intended in part to support the ministry of the Navigators, which big fan of. But you've gone through a process with your team to better clarify sort of the objective, the heart of NavPress. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So publishing is necessarily eclectic. Too much focus, and you're just not able to find a sufficient audience for each individual release. You're kind of besieging a standing audience with releases, right? And I think it's always funny when people at our office in the Navigators come by. They're you can tell when they've got a sense of overwhelm, right? There are a million new books in English published every year, or something like that, and so the idea of overwhelm is very real in book publishing. And then they have to look me in the eye and say, I actually don't need a book right now, right? It's a very weird, I feel bad for them, but I feel more bad for me. But yeah, so the challenge for a publishing program is to allow ourselves a sufficient space to be eclectic and to be in broad conversations with a diverse constituency, and so we want to do that, but we also don't want to. We need to protect a core identity along those ways, because every other publisher is doing the same thing, and other publishers are larger than we are. They have more marketing budgets, so they can kind of, I don't know, like flood the zone, you know. So we're trying to strike this balance of being accessible and emphasizing affinities while also demonstrating distinctives. And for a while, so it's probably helpful to know that in the mid 2010s, NavPress went through a bit of an identity crisis. We had to kind of reinvent ourselves, and I was brought on right around that time. And so for the first several years, we were kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick, and we were an entirely new team, so we didn't have a lot of deep historical understanding of NavPress, and we were coming from different publishing environments, so we were bringing different assumptions with us from these different environments. And so for the first few years, we were making good acquisitions, but we weren't really telling a NavPress story by what we were doing. And I think we talked earlier about it's a high trust proposition for an author to say whose imprint am I going to attach myself to, right? What does the story of my publisher say about me and my book? What am I getting myself into, essentially? So over time, it became increasingly important to look inward and answer the question of who we are and what we're doing. And when I first moved into the publisher role, I started doing at NavPress doing acquisitions and project development, sort of like what Caitlin did with you. And I moved into the publisher role in the middle of 2020, in the pandemic year, right? And so it was a really disruptive time, and I was just trying to figure out what's the first thing we need to do, and I started referring to it or thinking of it as our Ezra year, right? Ezra needs to restore the God-directed identity of the people of God in the wake of exile. And so the work in that first year for our whole team was what's the soul of NavPress. Right? And that was very quickly followed by the Nehemiah year, which is like how do we build, what do we build based on what we learned about the soul of NavPress. And so the last 6 years now, coming up on 6 years, has been kind of an exercise in building that out. Paying attention and figuring out what's next. So the most and last year was our 50th anniversary, so that was a helpful opportunity to kind of step back and say, not just who we are now, but like what's the continuity, what's the through line that makes sense to tell our story. And along the way, we developed a new tagline for ourselves. So which is bold, loving, sensible. Which sensible, the sexiest of tagline words, right?
I just love how you latch onto a good idea and you're like, I'm in. It's a good idea. I don't care what anybody thinks. This is the right
exactly,
idea.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's the last word because why wouldn't it be?
Why not?
But it actually comes from the message.
That's what I love.
Yeah, and it's from Paul's second letter to Timothy. Am I getting this right? I get it a little twisted, but second letter to Timothy, chapter 1, verses 5 to 7.
Oh, I can look it up.
Oh yeah, well this will be a good test. This is going to be real embarrassing if I got it wrong.
Oh well, we don't have to do that. That's okay.
So the line is, and this is a well-known verse in conventional Bible translations, and the prism is turned nicely, I think, in the Message. It's God doesn't want us to be shy with His gifts, but bold and loving and sensible. And that really landed with me. We were in our 2 Timothy year at the time. But the idea that boldness and love and sensibility each are values, and they interconnect, right? Yeah. They cross-pollinate. So something about boldness is shaped and textured by something about love, and something about both of those is given greater depth and substance by a prioritization of sensibility. And it's part of the challenge, right? We want to push envelopes that need to be pushed. We want to poke at cows that are more sacred than they ought to be. We want to honor and affirm the dignity, the essential dignity of people who are made in God's image. We want to conduct ourselves relationally with our authors, with their agents, with our audience. And we want to be sustainable and responsible to the larger work of our parent organization. So all three of those words resonated with me as the agenda of NavPress, and they all resonated with me as like true today of the kind of culture our team had been building. And they're just, you've met them all. They're all
love
great
your team.
people, and
love your team.
They're so like I am a Gen X middle child, right? Like I'm like steeped in cynicism, but they're earnest in all the best ways, and it makes the work both energizing and satisfying
and effective, I would say.
Yeah,
I would say, it's. I'm glad to hear it's energizing and satisfying to you and to the team, but you're doing really good work.
Oh, thank you.
I've had the chance to meet several of your authors and get to know some of your other, obviously published works, not just the things coming out of the Message, but well beyond. And it's a good work that you are committing yourself to. And it's really been fun because I have worked with the Navigators Ministry, and Soul Care has done that in a variety of ways over the years, which we feel very honored and blessed to support such an important work globally. But your intention to be supportive to the broader mission has just been really I guess, endearing in a way. And then also, I think it's very compelling. Yeah. So hopefully you're hearing good feedback from them as well.
Yeah, it's been interesting in the last couple of years. I think the trajectory of the Navigators is to be more thoroughly organized around the core values, and so NavPress has been sort of brought into that conversation in ways that has not always been true, and it's been interesting to be subjected to some scrutiny through that. You know, we no longer have the luxury of being on the periphery. But it's also been kind of gratifying to say, we can our work can be sharpened by our interaction with the core values and mission of the Navigators, and the Navigators' work is advanced by to the extent that we do that well. Yeah. So it's been a fun time to be in the thick of it over at the Navigators. Yeah. So,
well, God has shaped you and formed you to be a person that can do that. So to that point, I'd love to kind of switch a little bit and have you say a little bit more about your own story. You know, who's listening to this is probably a lot of people who are in leadership. Like, you've just given us a really beautiful how you stepped into leadership in a very turbulent season and grabbed onto some scriptural ideas about helping people make sense of over time. Beautiful leadership lessons, honestly. But you didn't show up as you are in this seat in a vacuum. So what was the...
I parachuted in, right? Publishing chair. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know that a lot of the care of your own soul is a big priority for you. I hear it in how you write and how you talk, in your rhythms of retreat and these kinds of things. Yeah. But maybe take us back to a moment in your own journey where the priority of your life with God was at risk, perhaps even in the context of your work.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of the intersection that we're talking about at Soul Care is this intersection of our leadership and our life with God. And it's just true that it can get hard and can get sideways and can be very disorienting when that happens. So I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing, being human and a leader.
Thank you for acknowledging that I'm a human. I don't always get that. I find myself thinking about the fall of 2023. So I had been doing this role for about 3 years at that point, and it started in a pandemic, and then it moved into a global supply chain crisis. How dorky is that, right? But every book we released in 2021 was delayed. Some of them greatly delayed, but because as a kind of ripple effect of the pandemic, the ability to get resources from point A to point B was disrupted, and so we were thrown off, and so we had to pivot constantly on what we were doing. And then in 2022, we were due to start renegotiating a central alliance partnership essential to our ability to do our job going forward. And this had been we were about 10 years into the relationship at that point, and it had been running well, but the need for change was also obvious. And I'd spent my entire career spelling. I'm really good at spelling. I'm not well practiced in major contract
high stakes negotiations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So
Wow.
I was, and that wound up being nearly a 2-year process.
Wow.
And I felt very alone a good chunk of the time. And I had a boss who was taking very good care of me and a real advocate in that process with real expertise in that process. But I think my instinct is to pull back. I notice myself sometimes in intense conversations. I just look to the right rather than to the person, and so I had a 2-year period where I was looking to the right a lot,
Yeah.
and that kind of self-segregating feeds itself, right? You feel more isolated. And that builds on itself. And so even as we were kind of making progress and we got to a good end with that project, and I was new to supervise. I'd never supervised anybody before this job. And so I realized I was retreating from my team and retreating from the people who were my allies, retreating from the people I needed to get to yes with, and just found myself kind of like alone in the world. So dramatic, but
that's and just pausing there.
Yeah.
We hear that from leaders all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when the stakes go up, when it gets really hard.
Yeah.
It sounds like you even had some self-awareness of even your body language of how you were showing up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like sometimes we're not even aware of how we're retreating.
Yeah.
And it's very common. One of the symptoms of soul neglect, we often say, is that we just start hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So late 2023, I think I started to realize how and where that was leaking out, right? Where I had the sense that I was protecting people from the turbulence and the challenge, but it became increasingly obvious that I was hurting people by my neglect and
Withdrawal.
by my retreat.
Yeah.
And so, I was at the Navigators quadrennial national staff gathering, and I was someone you've met, Mark Heintzman, whose Navigators staff is a life coach and like you, God bless you, part of the advisory board for NavPress. And Mark was at this conference with me, and we were talking, and he figured it out, and he said, maybe you should be talking to someone regularly. So I went home from that conference, and I thought, I either need a coach, a therapist, or a spiritual director. And within a matter of weeks, I was kind of lined up with a coach, a therapist, and a spiritual director.
Or all three.
I know.
Option D, all of the above.
I was like, go big or go home. But so that was this really
I'm picturing this
time.
tidal wave of care and love and yet challenging questions coming at you all at once.
Yeah. And all three were really remarkable in their own way. And I think I found myself I needed to kind of see the fine points of distinction from the inside to figure out what the right long-term relationship would be. So
we get questions about that all the time.
Yeah.
How would you define the finer points of distinction from the inside for a therapist, a coach,
a director?
That's
good. I think maybe put very simplistically, and based on the conversations I was having, the therapist helped me look back. The coach helped me to look forward, and the spiritual director helped me to look around. They bleed together, obviously, but you know, the therapist, and she was great. She was trying to, like, we would talk about something, and she would say, "What age are you in that?" when you're in that conversation. And I thought, what are you talking about? I'm a little slow on the uptake, but it was, she was able to identify that my way of engaging tense situations is shaped it largely by how I was met by tense situations when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And so figuring out how to become an adult in the midst of those situations was part of the agenda of therapy. The coach was sort of helping me think, you want to get over there in this binary relationship, but also in the work that you're kind of laying out for yourself. But you're over here. Like what's in the way of you getting from here to there? That was really helpful clarifying. Yeah. I'm an overthinker, so a coach is a good corrective to overthinking. No one calls out your overthinking better than a coach, right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but and then the spiritual director, and that's wound up being the longer term relationship. Yeah, she was just creating kind of a sacred space, right? Where you're actually fully present in the space and being cognizant of the presence of God in that space. And that the opening line of Psalm 46 in the Message is, God is a safe place to hide, ready to help in our time of need. Mm-hmm. And then the line that follows says, we stand fearless on the cliff edge of doom. Like, that's so poetic, but
we stand fearless on the cliff edge of doom.
Courageous in storm and earthquake.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great. That's a great showcase of what the message can be. But that idea that God is a safe place, I don't think I had like fully grappled with, and it was affecting my leadership, because when you assume no safe place, you're going to be overly defensive. You're gonna not bring your full self to the conversations, and and stuff's gonna leak out one way or another. So you need to, I mean, it goes back to be a saint is to be myself, and to trust that God can do something with my true self. So,
there's a quote from Søren Kierkegaard that I've heard from a variety of different sources over the years, that basically, when translated into English, means something to the effect of, Now with God's help, I shall become myself.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I like all that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your leadership. Maybe just, we'll close up in just a minute, but maybe any sort of, like, if you think of those people that might be missionaries serving out on the field, or nav staff, or people with other organizations, pastors, leaders, business leaders. You know, you're a business leader. Yeah. What rhythms have you found helpful for your soul?
Yeah.
And which spiritual direction sounds like one?
Yeah.
What else would you say as helping you be yourself in this role? What helps you with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think spiritual direction has been, and I think it's also not just the event of spiritual direction, but the idea that space can be sacred and space, and that sacred space can be generative. I think that's been really helpful for me, and any space can be sacred and generative. So I think having a team has been really important. You know, Dietrich Bonhoeffer has that line, let he who cannot be alone beware solitude, and or beware community, and let he who cannot be in community beware solitude. And I think I'm on that side of that that equation, that I lean into solitude, which is a grace, right? It's a generative space. So we need solitude, but the counterbalance is relationship, and I've found increasingly that play has been good for me and good for those relational spaces.
You do fun things with your team all the time, right?
Yeah, they're
hilarious.
Nutballs.
Oh, they're ridiculous.
They are really ridiculous. The thing that we've done, that we've invited, and you're welcome anytime, but we've done table readings of sitcom episodes, and that's just so wacky and ridiculous. But I think something that I've always loved and not always thought to give full protect space for is play, right? Like, and when I was a musician in high school, like that was what we did. Like jazz is generative, right? You're playing together, and that's a creative activity, and working in words and working, like, the zeitgeist is our mission field, right? So to as a team kind of look around and like laugh together and like find the absurdity and find the significance of the absurdity is generative exercise, and it binds us to one another, and it advances our work and adds texture to our work. So plays become a real thing for me just in the last year or two to really protect for. And then I'm in a leadership program at the Navigators right now, and one feature of it is scripture memorization, and I was terrified by that. They're going to make me like recite these
Navigators.
Bible verses. I know, of course they're going to do that, but I thought I'm going to blow this and they're going to fire me and it's going to be terrible.
I'm sure that's not going to happen.
But yeah, they've been very gracious.
I bet it's been great.
But I think what I found is just the not just like memorizing the scriptures, but iterating a memorization process. That's good for my kind of my overthinking brain. So recently I've started to try to learn the ukulele, and
that seems to bring together play.
Yeah,
and
exactly, and also this iterative process, right? Because you've gotta like, there's your left hand is doing one thing, your right hand is doing another. There's chords you have to learn. There's strum patterns that you have to learn. So I'm trying to like do that in an iterative way and gamify it a little bit.
Please tell me you'll bring it to Exponential next week.
Oh no, I'm not ready for that. Like, but yeah, I can play 10 chords. But you have to wait a long time for me to move from one chord to another. So, yeah. But I'm hoping
you're on your way.
Yeah, I'm hoping by this summer, that I can play a really cool, like the like threshold point is play a really cool song on the ukulele.
Love it.
Not like Happy Birthday, right? That's lame. But,
No, you got to get to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So
yeah,
there you
right,
go.
exactly. So.
Well, I'm just grateful for you making the drive to come up here and hang out. I hope we'll get you out at the ranch again sometime soon, get some more time for you. But gosh, there's so many things I want to say all at the same time, which never works well. First, let's take care of these. Guys, we have 4 books to give away, and I don't really know how this is supposed to work, but I would recommend that you put either Ignite Your Soul or Enciende tu Alma. Did I say it correctly?
I believe so, yes.
That in the comments, and we will message you, or our team will figure out what to do.
Yeah.
We'll find you.
Very smart team.
Yeah, we have a very smart team, and they'll figure out how to find you. And we would love to get you a copy of whichever one would serve you and your community best. It's really fun to be moving into partnership in this next language. And I was telling my husband I'm going to learn how to sign my name in Spanish.
Oh, that's cool.
I think it's just the same.
It probably is just the same, yeah. It took me a minute.
Oh, Dave, I could laugh and hang with you.
I was doing so well.
I'm just grateful for who you are, for how you lead, for how you serve, for the work you're putting out in the world. It's really significant. And, you know, if you could just, I'm sure you and your team do this. I hope you do. But to imagine in your mind's eye the thousands, the tens of thousands of people, I'm sure it's more than that, hundreds of thousands, who are interacting with the work that you've done and the goal of that the life of God would meet their real life. And it's happening. It's happening, and it's happening because of your good work. So thank you for coming. Thank you for joining me. Now, I'm learning to get better at saying all the ways you can get in touch with Dave if you're interested. He's on LinkedIn. You can find him there. NavPress is, give us all the ways to reach out to you. And not that you're wanting to be flooded with.
Yeah.
But if people have a question or a thought or a follow on, how can they track with what's going on at NavPress?
Yeah. Well, I think LinkedIn's a good way to get directly in touch with me. And NavPress, we're on all the socials, you know, so you can find us there. We're out on the road. We try to be out on the road fairly often. So for example, you and I are both going to be at a conference in Orlando next week, and some folks from my team, including Caitlin, are going to be at the Festival of Faith and Writing in Grand Rapids in April. Otherwise, I think reach out on socials, reach out on LinkedIn.
And all the NavPress books are available wherever books are sold.
Yeah.
And are also through your own website, right?
Yeah, navpress.com is our site. So,
and I've learned that for organizations that want to buy in bulk for like a church or a retreat or anything else like that, you can do that through
there's a site called Church Connect.
That's it.
And that has good bulk pricing for churches and ministries.
Definitely. So. I think I sent you the picture. I was at a retreat or a gathering recently, and to walk into a room and have at every table setting for the dinner banquet was a copy of the book, and it was really cool to allow. Like people that came up to me the next day, they're like, I stayed up till 2 a.m. reading.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
In any case, so guys, I hope you'll follow Dave. Go find out what's the Monday message on LinkedIn, and just thank you for joining us. Thank you for the work you do wherever you're located. We hope this will be helpful to you, and we'll see you next time at Soul Care Conversations.